Hello, welcome to Handmade by Julia Quinn. This is not my normal time to come on and do a live video. However, I really want to do this project because I actually need to take the card to a display I'm doing for the libraries this morning, and so I need to get it done. So I thought, well, seeing I need to get it done, how about I just share it with you? If you're here, welcome. Thank you so much if you're able to join me. If you're not, hopefully you'll catch me on the replay later on. But this card is a card I had on my blog last Thursday featuring a Sale-a-bration stamp set called Cradled in Love. This stamp set is available if you spend $90 this month and next month. And I wanted to do one of my favourite little folds, which is making a little cradle inside a card. Good morning, Lynette. Thank you so much for saying hello. And I actually caught your comment. That's pretty exciting. So, as I said, I need to make this card because I need to take it today, actually this morning. And it's been sitting on my desk waiting to be done. I thought, well, now or never. And I'm so glad you can join me. So, I'm going to make the card again for you. I made this one originally in lemon because I didn't have any particular baby gender in mind, and I actually love lemon lolly. It's one of my new favourite colours and the new colours that arrived last year. But I made another one for a friend who needed a blue one for her grandbaby coming, and made two so I could share with you how I made this card. Okay, so I've cut out all my cardstock. This card is the normal length of our cardstock cut in half lengthwise, and I have scored it at, let me use the ruler on my glass mat here, that helps me, 7.5 centimetres and 15 centimetres, so that it's almost in half but not quite. But when you fold it like that, you get the standard size card at the base and then your little Z fold on the front. Okay, so that's your basic card fold. Let me just burnish my folds there so that stays there. So that's the fold. We don't really need that until the end of the card when we're putting it together, because I have made panels for every single part of the card. Each of these go on here. Because I'm colouring in with stamping blends, you really need a panel to protect your cardstock because it does come through to the other side. I have already done the colouring and stamping for my writing panel, which goes on the back of my card here. And that's what I was talking about. You really do need separate panels when you're colouring with Stampin' Blends. So seeing I've got that already done, I'll just stick that onto the back of my card. Ready to go. And then there's the card there. Then we can do some stamping on these, but probably what you really want to know is how I put the cradle together. So this again is the length of my cardstock, length of our cardstock, our metric cardstock, and I have scored it at, let me look at the glass mat to tell you, 5 centimetres, 14 centimetres, 19 centimetres, and 28 centimetres. So the little cradle makes a box that is 4 centimetres, is it 5 centimetres by 14, 5 by 9, okay? So it just basically creates a little box like that. But before I put the cradle together, what I do want to do is create the look of it having rungs, and to do that I'm going to stamp a little stripe on. Now I'm going to put my join in the inside of the card, so I'm going to stamp stripes along this bit at the front and stripes along the inside piece there. I'm going to use my glass mat to line that up, and I'm going to use this piece of the trusty tools. It is actually just a little piece that colours in the pencil, so to create your two-step stamping, but I'm going to use it just like that as a stripe, and I'm going to use Balmy Blue ink. Goodness, they make a lot of noise. Balmy Blue ink, which is the same as my cardstock, so that it sort of blends in. Now I'm just lining up my Grid paper will work for this too, just lining up my score line there and then using the lines on my glass mat. Oop, that one wasn't very straight, Julia. To stamp even intervals along my piece of cardstock there. And there's my last score line. And just before I go anywhere, because I don't want that extra ink to go anywhere, I just need to rub that off. Okay, so that's for my inside panel. Now I need to do some on this panel here. So again, I'll line up my score line there and then just at equal intervals using the measurements on my glass mat. Just repeatedly stamp my stripe for the front of my cradle. There we go. That's that done. Okay. Once again, I have to clean that so I don't get any ink everywhere. Rightio. I'll just close you up for the minute. And then we can put that together. Okay, like that. I'm actually going to put my join on the outside because that will camouflage it better when I'm putting it together inside my card. And as always, whenever I'm making a little box, I always adhere it flat because that way I know it'll fold. Okay, so there's the basic cradle. Got my stripes on the inside. Hello Sharon, thank you so much for joining me for my spontaneous little video. I'm not normally here. Okay, so there's the box done, stamped with the trusty tools. And then these two are the ends of my cradle, or cot, as I used to call it. And I've decided for the top of my cot, I'm going to use the Very Best Trio Punch and this little curvy one here. And I want to make sure I've got the curvy bit at the top of my cot. So I'm just going to pop that in and then flip it over this way so it's symmetrical. And so there's one end of the cot done. Here's the other end. Pop that in, and then that's the cot top done. And for the little legs of my cot, I'm using the Modern Oval Punch, and I'm using this line here to line up. I'm going to do it sideways, so I'm just eyeballing this to make sure I've got it sort of. I'm using that line inside the actual punch to line up the base, so both of them are the same, and trying to have it fairly center in between. I just have to tip it up for a minute, I'm sorry, in between both sides. So there we go. One leg, set of legs, and two set of legs. There we go. So there's the two ends of my cot. I've got a nice, this is a traditional sort of cot with a nice top and two little legs. So I'm going to stick both of them on each ends of my cradle. So that needs a little bit, you do need grid paper to do this as well. My seal is getting to the end of its life. So I'm just going to choose one. Sticky fingers, oh my goodness. And just line that up there. And that might be a bit high. Down a bit. Okay, so that's one end done, and we want them both exactly the same. So put some glue all over that. Line up my already glued on end here, and then use that same line there. Can you see what I'm doing? Same line there to line up the feet of my other one so that they're nice and level. And there we go, we've got a cot. Cool, hey, very easy. And it has to have no base for it to be able to fold up in the card, but that's the cot made. Now before I can stick that into my card, I do need to do my stamping and put my panels in, and then I'll show you. Now this piece here that I've already coloured is the mat from the cot, and I'm pretending it's like a little blanket that you throw over the edge of the cot. Just going to cut that in half and then fold it over randomly. I don't need it to be straight. And then using my seal, I'm just going to put some seal all over that. Run the seal on my skin to make it start running. Okay, so as you can see, I smudged it a little bit there, so that's the perfect place to put my blankie. And there we go. There's my blankie folded over the edge of my cot, because you always need a spit rag or a blankie or something when you're getting the baby out. Okay, so that's the cradle done. Let's start doing some stamping. So I've got my 3 panels, as I said. This one here is the large one for behind the cot, and so basically I'm just making wallpaper, and for the wallpaper I'm using this little flower out of the 2-tone flora set, which I've already got ready here on my thing. And so that I don't make too much mess, I'm just going to use a bit of scratch paper underneath and just stamp this all over my background. There we go, there's a bit there, a bit on my next piece, and then a little bit for the front. Okay, that's just some random stamping to generate wallpaper. While I've got my balmy blue out, I'm going to stamp my mat for the base of my cradle, just over here underneath there, and then for the one on the front of my card, one here. Okay, I think that's all my balmy blue for the moment. And I'm using for most of the other stamping Pebbled Path, which is actually a much more subtle colour than black. I actually avoid using black quite a lot. Maybe I'm scared of it because it's just so dark. So I'm using Pebbled Path for my outline stamping. When you're colouring with stamping blends, you can use actually any colour at all to colour, because they're all water-based and they work perfectly with the blends. There we go. There's my cradle. Shouldn't have done the flowers there, should I? So I'm going to turn that over and do that again. And I'll do some more flowers in a minute. But while I've got my Pebbled Path out, I'll do my welcome little one for the front of my card. And this one for inside the card says Bundle of Joy above the head of the cradle. And I need to actually do it quite at the top there, Bundle of Joy. And on my card here, I've actually got the little, what's it called? You know, thing you hang above the cot. But I don't think I'll do that in this one, because I've actually got it on the back of the cradle, on the back of the card there. And I think it probably looks better than just randomly stuck at the top. So I won't do that on this one. All I need to do now is my mat again underneath my cradle over here and colour in. Now there is a couple of little tips when you're colouring in this cradle. It can be a bit tricky finding out where the bars go. So what I did do first is actually colour the blanket over the edge of the cradle first, and I'm using exactly the same colour as my cardstock. Actually, I'm using balmy blue and just colouring the blanket. There's a little stripe in the blanket, but this helps me work out where the actual bars of the cradle are. And I'm also using balmy blue for the carpet underneath the cradle. This little cradle stamp actually has a little gap in the end of it so that you know where you're going to pop the cradle, which makes it fun and easy. And then to emulate a little bit of shadow, going to use my dark balmy blue and just run along those lines that the artist has created for me. In there, in there, in there. When you're colouring on coloured cardstock, the stamping blends actually absorb a lot more into the coloured cardstock than they do onto white. So they do look like they sort of bleed a little bit more. So it does, it's far more absorbent than your white, which is a polished surface. So, and it's the same when you colour with thick white as well. It actually absorbs the alcohol a lot more, soaks right in a lot more. I'm just following the artist's little lines there for the little tufts of carpety stuff. Okay, and the other thing I'm going to do before I do the bars is to colour the mattress with my petal pink in between the bars there, because you can see where the line is. Okay, and before I do the base, then I'll colour. Now I'm using, now this is number 500, but they've been changed. The colours have been changed. This is one of the natural tones. I think it might be the light mediums, perhaps. I haven't looked it up, but we'll just following the lines of the work of the lovely artist. It's actually quite easy to colour in. It's just you've got to be careful you don't get confused. And then along here. This one would probably look very nice coloured white too, quite possibly. Rightio, so now I'll start in between the colouring I've already done. And even though I didn't stamp it too well, colouring it in helps it fill out. Okay. If you like colouring in, this is a lovely little stamp set. I don't normally get baby ones, and I probably only got this one because it was free with Sale-a-bration. But it's been fun. And I have made this cradle card before in previous years, so it was nice to revisit the fun of making that. And as I said, I'm putting a display up in the library today, and I really wanted to have this card to have there for the display. So I thought, oops, better make it before I go. So, rightio, have I missed anything? Yes, I have. I've missed the mattress just down here. There we go. I think I'm done now. Oh, and I have to do some little flowers for the wallpaper. There we go. Now that I've worked out where my cradle is going and don't cover it up. And then last of all, colour in my carpet. And then you'll be able to see how we put the cradle inside the card so it folds properly. There we go, and use the dark one and follow the little lines that the artist has created for us to make it look carpetish. Like that word. I'm big on inventing words. There we go. Okay, let's put this together. And put my seal on the inside one, and bundle of joy right in the middle, and hide the one where I made the mistake. Now those flowers not quite stamped are bothering me a little bit, so I might just fill in a little bit to make it, just fix it up a bit, seeing I've got my blend here. There we go. that looking right? And then there's another one here. Maybe I should use the markers. I think that one will be covered up by the cot. Okay, so the last thing to do is put our cradle in. Now, it folds like this inside the card, but it's really important that you put it in so it folds with the card like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my seal just on this bit here, because that bit's going to fold up, and line the feet of the cradle up with the bottom of the card and put it up beside, not on top of, but beside the score line there. And then I can put seal all over the back of this, all over there. Close the card up, give it a rub, and then there's my Bundle of Joy cradle in the blue version. Here you go. So which one should I take to the library for the display? The blue one or the lemon? Which one's your favourite? I hope you've enjoyed that. Have a lovely day. Thank you for joining me this morning for my spontaneous video. Have a really lovely, what's today? Tuesday. And I'll see you again on Thursday. Bye-bye now.